everyone I've spoken to is kind of like, how did you do that? Oh, your parents must have given you all this money. No, parents haven't given me a cent. This is everything I've worked for myself.
Maddie has been saving since she was just 11 years old.
Teen homeowner Maddie Pickering started saving for home age 11. A teenager who saved for a home deposit by working at McDonald's says she did it without any financial help from her parents. Welcome to the Mango Monkey Show, where we talk about finance, investing, and building wealth. An Aussie teenager who started planning and saving for her dream home from the age of 11 saved up $30,000 deposit and hopes to move into her new home by Christmas 2020. Maddie, who is only 19, has worked and saved through her school years. She finished her senior matriculation certificate a year before her classmates and now owns a house. Or at least half a house, because the house is still under construction. This girl is only 19. She started saving when she was 11 years old. Everyone that she has spoken to says, "How did you do that? Oh, your parents must have given you the money." Well, her parents did not give her a single cent. Today at the Mango Monkey Show, we will expose the 4 secrets that you need to know if you want to get rich. Maddie's first home is down to determination and hard work rather than luck. She started saving at 11 years old before she was working. Instead of spending her allowance, she started saving it. And as soon as she turned 14, which is the legal age for her to be able to work, she got herself a job at McDonald's. Instead of going to university, she decided to get a full-time job after she finished her year 11. At the age of 18, she started looking around to who would give her a home loan, but she was knocked back on her first application, which is fair enough. It was very difficult to get yourself a home loan when you are only 18. Your income is probably very small, and your deposit is also very small. In addition, last year the banks in Australia were a bit tougher compared to this year. They needed a bigger income last year compared to this year to achieve the same amount of loan. On top of her $30,000 deposit, Maddie qualified for the Queensland's first home owner grant of $15,000 for a brand new home and the federal government's $25,000 building incentive known as the Home Builder Scheme when she builds a new home before the prescribed time period, making her goal so much easier. Let me share with you the 4 secrets to getting rich. The first secret is time. What does that mean? When you have time working for you, you're able to compound the value of money. Every single dollar that you invest, every single dollar that you save will get bigger the longer you keep it in the bank or in the investment account. Let me illustrate the point for you guys. Here on the screen I have Microsoft Excel. I'm going to type FV, which is the future value. Let's say your investment grows at a rate of 4% per annum and you save $100 a week. You save it over 5 years. In 5 years' time, your investment value will become $28,000. On the other hand, the amount that you actually save is only $26,000. Alright, so you save $26,000 over 5 years, $100 per week. In 5 years, the value of that investment becomes $28,770, assuming your investment grows at an annual rate of 4% per annum. Let us repeat the process if it grows at 10% per annum. If it grows at 10% per annum, your investment in 5 years will become $33,700 with the same $26,000 that you saved over the last 5 years. The difference in the value of the 2 assumptions, the 2 scenarios, is around 17%. So you get 17% more if the investment grows at 10% per annum instead of 4% per annum. The higher the annual growth rate, the bigger your investment becomes if you start early. So the key to getting rich is to start early when you are young. You do not need to be smart. You can be working for McDonald's like Maddie. If you start early, you let time work for you, and you become rich after a number of years. Maddie started when she was 11 years old and purchased her first home when she was 19. So she's had 8 years. So you can see how even if she has been saving only $100 per week, she would have easily achieved her $30,000 savings goal by the time she was 19. This magical effect is called compounding. Let me show you what happens if you have been doing this for 10 years instead of 5 years, and then I'll show it to you what will happen if you have been doing this for 50 years instead of 5 years. If you have been doing this for 10 years, this is your future value. So instead of $52,000 that you have been saving up, you will have around $64,000 in 10 years time. Now that is approximately 23% more than what you put in. Now that's on the assumption that the annual growth rate of your investment or your savings, your interest rate is 4% per annum. What if it is 10% per annum? Let's have a look. If it is 10% per annum, your investment will become $89,000 instead of the $52,000 that you put in. That is around 70% higher than the amount that you put in. Let us go 50 years down the track. So what happens in 50 years time from now? This is what happens in 50 years time, guys. So if you start when you are, let's say when you're 11 like Maddie, in 50 years time you will be 61 years old, saving $100 per week. If the investment return is 4% per annum, your money will be $823,000 instead of the $260,000 that you put in. In other words, you get more than 2 times the amount that you put in net profit before taxes, because you have to pay your taxes, and that only requires you to have an investment return of 4% per annum. What if your investment return is 10% per annum? If it is 10% per annum, then you will be a multi-millionaire. You will have $7.6 million just by putting $260,000 over the last 50 years, which is $100 per week. So you turn $1 that you invest into $29 over the course of 50 years. I call it the 8th wonder of the world. The higher your investment return, the quicker your money grows. But it doesn't need to have a high investment return. Even if it returns only 4% per annum, you already have $800,000 in your bank account. Impressive, isn't it? Now let me show you the second secret to getting rich. The second secret is the bank. You want the bank to actually work for you and with you every step along the way to further amplify the effect of compounding. Let me give you one example. The example I'm about to give you is simplified. It may not be perfectly accurate, but it helps to illustrate the point in a simple way. So let's say that you purchase a house. You put down 20% deposit. Let's say there is no stamp duty and there is no transaction cost. That means for every $1 that you put in, the bank lends you $4 and your investment is $5. Let's say the interest rate from the bank is 4%. Your house is rented out, and just hypothetically, the rental income is 4% of the value of the house. It is a little bit high, but it is just an example. So that means the rental income roughly offsets the interest if you were to borrow 100%. You're borrowing 80%, so you still get a little bit of rental income in addition to your interest. For this example, we also assume the value of the house itself, or the apartment, or whatever the case may be, is also growing at 4% per annum. So not only do you get 4% rental income, you also get an appreciation in the value of your property at a rate of 4% per annum. So your return is actually 8% per annum. We can adjust the numbers a little bit later on if you want to make this example a little bit more conservative. So let's say your property value is 500,000. So you've got 500,000, you put down 20% deposit, so that is $100,000. That's your contribution. So I'm going to do 5 times your deposit contribution. 4% annual return. I'm going to ignore completely the rental income and the interest expense. So the future value of your apartment or house is going to be $520,000, assuming you purchased it 5 years ago for $500,000, and it's been growing at an annual rate of 4% per annum. Now, when you purchase it, you have a home loan of $400,000. So I'm going to minus $400,000 from this equation, and the future value of my investment is going to be $120,000. This is different from the example in the top section here. The example in the top section here actually assumes you contribute regularly every week. The one down here assumes you don't contribute anything at all after you make the initial investment. Actually, I made a mistake. I need to raise this to the power of 5. So this 5 here is for me to get 500,000, the total value of the house or apartment, and this one is to represent 5 years. Let's do this again. So in 5 years, my net worth will be $208,000 instead of something like this if I did not borrow from the bank. If I did not borrow from the bank, it's going to be only $121,000. So it's almost double, see? So instead of 121,000, you will have 208,000. What happens in 10 years time? Let's have a look. In 10 years time, if you borrow from the bank, you will have grown your $100,000 deposit into a $340,000 equity. Now, if you did not borrow from the bank, you will only have grown your $100,000 deposit into a $148,000 equity. So it's a lot smaller. By working together with the bank, you get more than double the amount that you would otherwise have obtained. Now let's have a look what happens in 50 years. You'll be really surprised. In 50 years, if you did not borrow from the bank, your net wealth is only going to be $710,000. If you borrow from the bank, you will have $3 million plus. If you want to make it a bit more conservative and you want to account for your taxes that you need to pay, you can do a simple adjustment. For example, this 4% per annum, you can make it 2% instead of 4. If we make it 2%, it's still pretty impressive. So in 5 years, you will have $152,000 instead of $110,000. In 10 years, you will have $209,000 instead of $121,000. In 50 years, you will be almost a millionaire instead of only having $269,000. All you need to do to achieve this is to make sure your property grows at 2% per annum and to make sure that the rental income is similar to the interest rate of your home loan. Now let me share with you the third secret, the third best friend that you need to have when you want to get rich. So that is your parents. So let's go back to this article. Let's go back to Maddie Pickering. Maddie Pickering did not get a single cent from her parents. However, what she got from them is actually free money indirectly. Free accommodation and free food and transport expenses. The reason Maddie was able to save so much is because she did not have to pay rent. So she lived for free. So in Sydney where I live and in Brisbane where she lives, a typical rental accommodation costs at least $300 a week. If you want a decent place, you will need to spend $500 a week. So in 1 year, that's already around $25,000. So $25,000, let's go back to our example here. This example talks about the value of money, assuming that you put in $100 a week. Now, Maddie would have had to pay maybe $500 a week. That's not even including the groceries, not the food and transportation costs. So with the food and transportation costs, it's probably going to be $600 a week, right? So food is not cheap. Even if you eat at home, I think you need to spend at least $100 a week. Food, utilities, electricity, gas, mobile phone. Well, mobile phone, she pays for it herself, but gas and electricity. She got it for free. So let's have a look. What if we change this number to $600? And let's make everything $600. So if she had been saving $600 a week, and let's say her investment grows at 4% per annum, look what she will have got in 5 years. So in 5 years, her savings will have been $156,000, and with the effect of compounding, it would have been $172,000. That's not a small number. In 10 years, she would have saved $312,000, and the value of that savings or investment will have been $383,000 because of the effect of compounding. Now, this one should be 50 years. If for the whole of your life you have been living with your parents, even though they don't give you a single cent, they actually give you $1.56 million. And if you invest your money wisely, you should be a multi-millionaire by then. You should have already got around $5 million. And the only thing that it requires is for your investment to earn 4% per annum. So money and personal wealth is like a bucket that has water in it. So water comes in and water also comes out. So if you want to get wealthy, you can do one of two things. One is you can increase your income. So you can do this either by getting another stream of income by doing a side hustle, or you can try to get a bigger salary, make your existing income a little bit bigger than before. That way more water comes into the bucket. A second way for you to get wealthy is to reduce your expenses. So if you're able to eliminate one of your expenses, stop paying rent, then you're able to get wealthy. So your goal is to try to minimize the amount of money that comes out. So not only do you eliminate one or two of your expenses, you should try to reduce your expense that's remaining as well. Make it a small, tiny error.
No.
Your fourth friend when it comes to getting rich is common sense. So when you work together with your other friends, your time, the bank, and your parents, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of common sense. So what do I mean by that? What I meant is that if you buy an investment property or investment portfolio, investment product, you want to make sure that it makes sense. You don't want to be too specialized. So for example, if you buy a property in a mining town, you run the risk of exposing yourself to that particular mining town and the demographics in that mining town. So if suddenly the product that the company is mining is no longer in demand, or perhaps there's another supplier in a different country, then that mining town may not have anyone working in that place. So that means no one will want to buy your property when you need to sell it. Check out my other video linked either above or below, where I talk about some of the common sense philosophies that you should have in mind when you buy your investment property or when you buy your home that you want to live in. If you buy shares, you might want to buy an index fund, which is where another person manages your money. They don't charge much because they probably only look at your portfolio once a day. They don't spend too much time looking at it, and sometimes they even use a computer to do most of the work. But because it is an index fund, it's comprised of Australia's, let's say, top 200 companies or 300 companies. It's very unlikely for the portfolio to go down in value and never recover. It may go down in value for a few months or a few years, but if you wait long enough, it should eventually recover. This is what I call the dumb way of investing, and it is what I believe should work for most people, regardless of their profession, regardless of how much time they spend into choosing the investments. This method of investing will work for you even if you only have 4 friends. So friend number 1 is time, friend number 2 is the bank, friend number 3 is your parents, and friend number 4 is common sense. If you do gain something from this video, please subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm to make sure that more people see a video like this. That way we can help more people get wealthy.